Hello everyone and welcome back to the Witch of Bees and Bones. In today's video, I'm going to chat a little bit about what my day-to-day practice looks like. And again, this is in general. We all have days where we have to get out of the house early or things are going on, but this is like the general gist of my mornings, or my days, excuse me. So I get up. My little kitty Elijah typically wakes me up to tell me she's hungry. I make her food for her. And so I get up, I feed her, I start the water kettle. I had to give up coffee because of anxiety, I guess about a year ago now, and I miss it every single day. I don't miss the anxiety, but I do miss coffee. But I've realized that I can replace the ritual of making coffee in a French press with making tea and frothing up some oat milk and some cinnamon, and I get my kind of morning ritual in that way, so to speak. Um, and then I chat with Elijah for a little bit because she always has a lot to say in the morning, so we spend some time chatting. And then I light some Palo Santo on my living room altar. I do have an altar in every room of my house, and I even have a little altar in my car that's on the dashboard, and it's this recessed area that I just put some special things in. But in the morning, I light some Palo Santo on my altar. The Palo Santo is ethically and sustainably sourced, which is deeply important to me. And the cards from the prior day are still sitting on my altar, so I'll kind of bathe those in some of the smoke, and then I'll decide what decks I'm going to be, or deck or decks, whatever it turns out to be for that day. I've been using, let's see here. So I've been using this one, the Memento Mori. Um, Obviously this is my jam. It's got plants, it's got bones, it's got flowers, it's got all sorts of cool stuff in it. I will link it down below. I'm sure you've all heard of it or seen it in other videos. I am happy to talk about it if somebody wants me to. She's taken some time. It's taken some time for us to get to know each other. The first card I ever pulled out of this deck was the Tower card. And I don't do tarot, but I do know what the Tower card means. And I pulled it at like a rough point, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to put that back, and I'm going to put that right back into onto the shelf. And I was using some other decks for a while, and then this one is like, you need to get to know me. So I did take her back off the shelf, and she has been in constant use for the past couple of weeks, probably, I'd say. We're still getting to know each other. Very matter of fact, very no nonsense. And so this is the deck I've been using. So lately, I've gotten into the habit of using two decks and pulling one card apiece. The other deck is the Weaver's Oracle, which I've talked about a million times and frankly will continue to talk about because she's fucking fantastic. So the Weaver's Oracle, which momentarily, this, again, I'll link both of these. So the Weaver's Oracle for me is more of a internal kind of thing, like what I need to work on, what needs to be done, what's going on internally, like my own work. And then this has been more about like what the day is going to look like and what I should focus on that day. And that's been really, really helpful. And I do journal with both of them. You know, sometimes it's just a page, sometimes it's a few pages, depending on like what strikes me. And that has been a really lovely practice. I also don't look at my phone. I put my phone upside down. There's never a ringer on because it's 2023. Nobody wants to hear a text tone or a phone ring. So but I flip it so I don't even pay attention to it. It doesn't exist to me during my oracle card time. And that has been really nice to not kind of inundate myself with technology immediately upon getting out of bed. So I do that. I journal, I drink my tea with my oat milk, and just kind of sit and kind of set my intention for the day. Most days I go to the gym. On the days I don't go to the gym, like if I'm home, if it's a weekend or day off or what have you, um, I like to keep things tidy. I've recently gone through my house like a crazy person, and cleaned every nook, cranny, wall, floor, baseboard, carpet, picture frame, etc., etc. It's been life changing and it's felt really good, and I'm really pleased with how my house is feeling right now. That's another thing that's important to me is having my surroundings be comfortable. Um, it helps both with my anxiety and my practice. I just remembered one thing. If so, it's funny, when I get decks, I don't usually read the about this deck that's in them because I've used enough decks, and I use intuition a lot. This deck for me, again, I only ever speak for myself. This deck for me, I clear my decks every time I use them. And that is also part of my practice, because whatever energy I had using it before, or whatever energy I have from another person's reading, I don't want that interfering with the reading I'm doing now. So I always, always, always clear my decks, and I have different ways of doing that. This deck in particular likes to be knocked, and I find that if I don't knock it, I either pull a card that makes no sense, or I keep getting the same card no matter how much I've shuffled and cleared it. So I have been sure to knock this deck every time I use it, which is really interesting to me. Knocking is something I typically do, but sometimes I just don't because I don't feel like I have to. This deck wants to be knocked every single time. Um, and then I realized when I was looking up a meaning of one of the cards recently that it did say to knock this deck, which I had not seen before. So that's interesting. I just wanted to mention that because I think that clearing decks is really important, whether it's for your own personal use, especially when you're doing readings for other people, but for yourself, because every day is different and every situation is different. And I think it's just better to, take care of that, clear the energy, and have a fresh read. Um, so I was talking about cleaning. So that's felt really, really good. Um, and I tend to light a lot of candles around my house. Recently I've been reading a ton. I'm actually on my 8th book of the month. I set a goal to read 52 books this year. I think I'm going to exceed that, if my reading jag holds for the rest of the year. Otherwise, I'll at least be a little ahead of the game. And I would love to talk about the books I've been reading if you're interested in hearing that. So please let me know. Um, Feel free to put something in the comments because I've been reading some really incredible books. Many having to do with witches or magic, or otherworldly things, and some that are more very rooted in this world. And one of the books is called Rooted, which I would love to talk more about, but it leads into my necessity for nature. So living in New England, things have been kind of dark and not that great for, it seems like forever. I know that's not actually the case. But winter is really, really difficult for me. I know it's necessary. I know it's the resting time. I know I understand this in my heart, and in my head, but my soul really prefers sunshine, um, and warmth. And so I have made it a mission this year to see beauty in winter. So as much as I hate being cold, I've been outside more this winter than I have been in a very long time. So I I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, which I love, and I was walking on my property recently, And I realized that it it kind of just wipes the slate. It calms everything down. It calms the anxiety while elevating my senses, which obviously is a great combination. And I saw ferns that were thriving even though it's like freezing cold outside. And I saw a bunch of fungus and mushrooms and downed trees and deer scat and bunny scat, and tracks in the snow. And I'm just trying to appreciate all the ways of nature and not just the warmer weather nature. And that's been really, really rewarding and has allowed me to shift my perception of how shitty and long winters can be in New England. Um, and when I'm out there, I have my phone with me, but it's turned the volume again. I don't. There's You're not going to hear a sound out of my phone. It just doesn't happen. Um, and it's in my back pocket, and I do occasionally take pictures, but I really try to be present. And whenever kind of intrusive thoughts come in, I just acknowledge them and then try to release them and go back to being present. It's very much a meditation for me. And I listen to the quiet or the river rushing or wherever I am, or the birds chirping, or a deer crashing through the woods, and whatever it is. And I just try to be really present in that moment. Um, there are other times where I will do some I'm not a full moon person. Um, I am a new moon kind of girl. Full moon makes me cranky and scattered, and it's not my thing. Um, Considering I'm on the left-hand path and like the darker things, it's not surprising that I'm a new moon, dark moon kind of girl. That's when I feel really energized and when I feel super clear. And so I will do rituals around that. I don't do spell casting. Uh, and again, I'm happy to talk more about that. My particular issue with spells is that more often than not, they take away another person's free will or they're self-serving. And I believe that magic and any sort of craft has a cost to it. And I understand that and I respect it, and therefore I don't cast. Um, I have in the past. Um, I know how good it feels when you cast and it works. That's an intoxicating feeling. It's also a very slippery slope, and it's one I personally choose not to be on. But I do rituals in honor of deities or of times of the year or of new moons, and I do set intentions. Um, and again, that is, I was going to say almost, it is always nature based for me, in the seasons, in the stones, in the feathers, in the bones, of course. And that's really lovely. I did have somebody ask me if I used bones in my rituals. And though I do have bones on my altars around my home, I don't use them in rituals. And for me, um, not just the few human bones I have, but the animal bones. Again, it's about consent, and I can't get consent from that person or that creature or that animal. Uh, so I don't tend to use them in craft work, in ritual work. They are around, as you know, they are deeply respected, revered, and honored in my home. But as far as utilizing them in practice, or excuse me, in ritual, I do not. It is more of a broad part of my practice and my ties to nature and animism. So I just wanted to answer that question. So that's a little look about Um, oh, I also try to spend some quiet time at night. No TV, no phone, no Instagram, no reels. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I like to, read another chapter in whatever book I'm reading, or, just sit with a cup of tea, and then I try to go to bed and just be quiet. Again, I'm not always successful in that. Sometimes my brain does its thing where it's spinning a little bit. But and then Elijah and I head to bed and we snuggle, and that is one of my greatest joys. She's 16. She just turned 16 at the beginning of the month, my little Capricorn. And I love her so desperately, and she loves me, and she's very much my familiar. And we have, I just feel really lucky that I get to connect with this little creature the way that I do. And so we snuggle in the morning and we snuggle at night and any other time of the day that I might be home, or around. She's very attached to her mama, and I'm very attached to her. There are times that she'll be lying on my chest and just looking at me, and I'll start to cry because I love her so completely. So yes, I'm a cat witch as well. So that's a little bit about what my practice looks like. I know that's a very broad look. Again, happy to go into more detail if that is something that you folks would like. Please let me know anything that you would like for me to talk about. Again, I've been reading a bunch of really incredible books I'd love to share with you. I'm happy to talk more about nature or bones, or we'll be talking more about conversations about death in the future. My last video got a really beautiful response, which I deeply, deeply appreciate. A ton of people reached out to me, and I just really want to start the conversation um, around death and dying and grief work, and maybe we can all get a little closer to being more comfortable with it. But until then, I will see you soon. Please observe some beauty today. It's really out there. I know sometimes when things get really hard and shitty, it's hard to see that, but there's nature always provides some beauty for us, and it may not fix the problem, but at least you'll have a minute of some joy and some solace. So I really deeply appreciate all of you, and I look forward to my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.